First blood for LYN.
And Oddie just barely gets out alive as well, tanking the turrets. The absolute confidence coming out of LYN. And I tell you what, that is not some bottom lane focus by any means. They want it straight into Impact's lane. Jirel picks a carry and shows that he can do it as well.
The level 2 red buff into gank pays off. LYN has got to be ecstatic about this one. And now they're having their blue buff stolen away.
Now we get to see this one again, of course. The blue buff is going to be taken away. Impact never would have seen this coming. He probably should have flashed at the moment that Oddie threw out his first spell, but Jirel, that was so classy coming out of the top laner of LYN. Just enough damage down to kill that Gnar. That was very close between Sejuani dying for a trade for the 1-for-1 and perhaps not even getting the kill in the first place at all, but they get it. That is what matters.
They get it. They coordinate it well enough to avoid the trade. Honestly, just really well played by the side of LYN Gaming. And that's honestly what I really like to see in these kinds of games, Rusty. When you come into this, a lot of people would say, I think almost everyone would say, that Cloud9 is the team with the edge in this head-to-head between these two teams. So if you're the team that has their work cut out for them, if you're the team making that uphill battle, you've got to be creative. You've got to find different ways to find these leads and put yourself in a spot where you're no longer at a disadvantage. You're the ones that now have to be feared. You're the ones that people are saying, okay, well, maybe they're going to walk away with this. And it's that kind of creative decision-making, that unexpected play that I think can really put them in.
And it wasn't even just creative. It was stylish, but it was confident. They had the confidence to make a play like that in a best-of-5 elimination round to knock yourself out of Worlds. The ward has spotted them, but Smoothie may still get Genthix here.
Here we go. Genthix going to be the one who's initially targeted on this one. More CC coming out as the damage also follows up, and now Sneaky going to be jumped up by Oddie, who shows up for the 3v3. Contract still staying on the front line. Smoothie going to be looking for more now as well. Ignite down onto Genthix. There comes your body slam, tying the game up 1-1.
Overstaying their welcome here on the side of LYN. As Oddie dashes in, they think they have the capabilities to hang around, maybe get that pick onto Sneaky, but they stayed far too long. Smoothie had the ignite. He saved it that entire time. So really good reservations coming out of Cloud9's support to get the kills. And now LYN are made pay for it.
LYN, they've got one kill on their jungler, but Cloud9 getting the kill onto their own jungler keeps things, honestly, just par for the course, back and forth between these two teams, making sure that they can have those playmakers ready to go, continue making those plays across the lane. And I always enjoyed the discussion of, do you want the money on your jungler or not? But we're going to take one more look at how that money got there.
And the good thing is that they focused Genthix. Now, he flashes at the correct time to dodge the hook. The heal was already used by White Lotus to keep him in because they wanted to fight. But they should not have wanted to fight in this situation. Once again, Contracts still full health, able to stand in front. Smoothie still standing in front. Sneaky had his summoner spells. There wasn't really a chance of getting that kill. They just overreached.
You can see there a comparison on your screen between Contracts and Oddie in the play-in so far. Contracts with a higher jungle proximity means he's spending more time around his laners. He's got a higher kill and assist at 15, and he's first out of everybody in damage percentage of his team. This guy is putting up increasingly impressive numbers as we go on, and that's why you got to respect him. If you're LYN, even though you might be able to make the counterplay there, it doesn't mean you're going to win.
Now that's almost double the damage percentage of any other jungler in this entire tournament. He has been doing so much work, Contracts. This time around, he's on the Gragas. He's going to be building tanky. That damage may go down, but so far he's even got that first kill. He's got his share and everything. Very impressive start to the tournament from him as well.
Slight gold lead here for Cloud9 after the dust has settled on those first couple of kills. Top lane, jungle, the farm's pretty much even. Bottom lane, where a lot of that gold lead is coming from. As you can see, Sneaky building himself up about a 15 CS lead over White Lotus's Tristana.
Now, they can still go for this at any moment, especially when the leap is gone. Sejuani's hanging around. Jirel's level 6, which is why they can. Impact can't flash to safety. The reason that they wanted to do that around the Mega Gnar timing as well is because a lot of Gnars, to harass their lane opponents, may just use the ultimate. Gives them control of the lane when they come back to mini form, and then they can use and abuse that range advantage and that movement speed advantage. They don't get the gank off this time, but I like the idea coming out of LYN. Impact's just too hard to gank, it seems.
You also see a lot of wards placed down by LYN Gaming in this top part of the river, really keeping an eye on if Impact is calling contracts up there for any kind of help, whether he's coming over the wall, walking up the river itself. They got the scuttle crab for him. They really want to keep tabs on contracts moving around this northern area.
They definitely do, but none of the vision is too deep. They've just got one over the wall where the explosive plant is, and that's probably the deepest vision that they will have for finding contracts. A lot of what they're doing right now, it feels like, is just controlling neutral areas so that they can unlock Oddie to at least move. He's got freedom. He knows if they're invading him as the Sejuani, and then they can react and counterplay for exactly that. But C9, I mean, they haven't had any crazy aggressive moves. They stole a blue buff, but past that point, nothing yet. You will start to see that vision grow from C9 now, however.
Level 6 online for contracts. The explosive cask, a massive addition to his ganking tool arsenal. So going to be looking to see him utilize that, especially while Audi is still only level 5. It gives contracts a huge advantage if these two find each other in the same skirmish yet again. You see contracts really wanting to move up into enemy territory here. Gets a swig out of the cask, standing right on top of a ward, has Jensen behind him.
They all know.
Starting up the enemy blue. They want to steal this away for the second time. Audie's going to be potentially in some trouble here if he tries to go in too quickly ahead of the rest of the team, but Seiya says, nope, I'm taking this away.
Get back in.
We're going to make it impatient. We're going to throw it off to the side, and you can't have it. Contracts
reset.
to take it. Can't quite get there.
So well done from Say to auto-attack it one more time, redirect the aggro of blue buff. Maybe they still get it. I actually don't think they will because they've wasted way too much time. White Lotus and Genthix wanted nothing to do with that. But here comes Sejuani. It's a counter gank.
Smoothie landing the hook, but now he's got to be pulled to safety by Sneaky, and that is the power of Callista Thresh.
All of this time, Gragas has been hovering around the area. It's just so hard to kill a Callista or a Thresh again. Not just the Callista ultimate, it's the Lantern. But what that does mean is they can catch Thresh now simply because there is no Callista ultimate. Much longer cooldown than that of a Lantern if Callista is caught out of position.
This means Smoothie's going to have to play a little bit safer down here. Cloud9 going to have to think a bit more if they want to go aggressive. Contracts again. Going to be looking to steal this blue buff away, but Seiya.
Here we go again.
Once more with the tether, not allowing these sort of shenanigans to go down as Audi jumps in and Smite secures.
That's just tragic for Seiya above all else, however, because he doesn't get that blue buff. Now, his Lost Chapter will give him some mana for the moment, but he's one wave off having to recall. So Cloud9 knowing exactly that, yes, Audi gets it, and yes, it denies it from contracts, they've got the ability to make the plays immediately.
And this is a very valuable play to make onto the Infernal Drake, typically the highest value Drake if you look at what teams want to prioritize. Cloud9 sees their opportunity to go on this here with Seiya having that very limited mana pool you just mentioned. It means Cloud9 should take this without any contest, especially with Sneaky having the Rin to secure it.
And it's a very cute play from Cloud9, but mostly because their bottom lane still has control of the 2v2. Is that allowed to happen at all? Remember the amount of times that Sneaky and Smoothie have just left their lane casually, walked towards the enemy blue buff, now towards the Drake, and there's no trade or contest available from White Lotus and Genthix, is the biggest reason that C9 are getting all of these things right now.
And remember, LYN Gaming, as a team, they're very, very dominant in their region. We've brought this point up 100 times already, but it means that they are used to beating their opponents, if nothing else, because they are strictly better players. And now,
here we go. Sejuani, that's deep.
Trying to start this playoff onto Impact as Audi comes in from behind, but Impact will just jump over his head to safety. That one was botched a bit.
And it's a full lane swap from LYN. Perhaps Audi could have thrown his ultimate out earlier to make him flash, at least get the summoner spell out of Impact. But at the same time, they've swapped their lanes. This is the goal that they wanted all along. The kill would have been the consolation prize at the end of the day. But Alistar Tristana is not going to push Nara away from the structures. And so White Lotus and Genthix just go back to base. They are trying to actively avoid Sneaky and Smoothie in the 2v2.
Which goes back to what I was saying earlier. This is a team that's used to winning their lanes, that's used to just saying, we've got better players than you, so we win. But now you're matched up against more competitive teams. You're on an international stage, and you can't fall back on those win conditions that you're able to utilize throughout the regular splits worth of play. Normally, LYN is a massive fish in a pretty small pond. You've gone to the biggest pond of all, competing in Worlds 2017. It's time to prove how big of a fish you really are.
They certainly have. Now, I feel like the reason they may have gone for something like this as well is just to start causing disarray amongst the entirety of the map. This might be an all-in.
Seiya unleashing the power onto Jensen, but only finds about half his health bar. Seiya very low mana, means he's got to get back. Utilize this opportunity with the push wave to take care of that one, as LYN has 3 bodies bottom pushing onto the tier 1 turret. Seeing how fast they can take this one down. Cloud9 also working on that top lane tier 1. And the first turret goes down in the favor of LYN Gaming, just barely.
Yeah, I was expecting the Orianna perhaps to go in, but Oddie was nearby, so good awareness from Jensen. Ultimately, the trades are still happening on the bottom side and top side of the map. Tristana and Camille excel at taking down structures by having the satchel charge, having the bonus damage on the Q, and energizing those attacks. And because they are avoiding Cloud9, they lose tempo on the push, but their champions, their composition allows them to still get the structures quicker. And so at the end of the day, it's a nice little thing to have there for LYN. They need that, given where the gold was stretching.
Right, gold lead still at about 1,000 gold as Contract steals the enemy red buff, potentially looks towards mid lane here. Not going to find his way onto Seiya in time. Stun not going to connect there from Scatter the Weak. But you can see that gold lead continuing to build for Cloud9, and a big reason, I mean, look at bottom lane. We mentioned a little bit ago how it was 15 lead for Sneaky. That's grown up to a 30 CS lead for him over his opponent. Really showcasing his talents here as an AD carry, now working together with Contract.
I have to feel like they'll fight for this. You just have to get that feeling. Teleports in early from Impact. It looks like they're ready to match it.
Wants to make sure he's there on time. Audi jumps in, finds his way on the Smoothie. Rift Herald going to be taken down, secured by Sneaky's Ren. Does LYN fight this? They whip the Glacial Prison, and now the call to retreat is there.
That's so tragic. He had so many targets in the sea, and he just couldn't pick any of them, and so he missed them all. And LYN will have to disengage. The Herald is free. It's going to be secured by Contracts, and Cloud9 have the capabilities to take down that mid lane turret if they choose, or if LYN continue to side lane, continue to try and pressure and mismatch the game, well, then you can get 2 turrets perhaps on the bottom side of the Rift, which is the other place they would be looking.
That feels so bad if you're LYN. You got everybody there, you put all that effort into it, only to have the Glacial Prison miss, and then you call the whole thing off. Very unfortunate for them. Frozen Mallet now up and running, by the way, on Impact. Means he's going to be so annoying. If he actually lands a single auto attack onto anyone, he can stick to them forever. Blade of the Ruined King, done for Sneaky. Jensen getting that Morello Namicon. Same can be said for Seiya. So we're starting to see these first item power spikes hit for a lot of champions across the map right now, Rusty.
The Frozen Mallet has so much use as well against the team composition out of LYN. Speaking of, Giral may be in trouble in a minute if he overextends. And so when you look at it, Camille goes forwards, really struggles at going backwards when she's forwards. Alistar can only really go one direction himself also.
Contracts really wants this blue buff. He is just obsessed with this thing, constantly trying to steal it away.
Look at Seiya's mana. Every single time he goes for the blue buff, he pushes away if he overextends, and suddenly the smite has been used twice in a row. So whether Contracts gets it or not, as long as Seiya doesn't have it, Cloud9 are winning.
Yeah, it's still a win. You don't have to steal the thing away. Just put it on Sejuani. As long as the mid laner doesn't get to abuse that spell spamming and is always at this disadvantage, you're going to continue to see Jensen build those.
And look what happens. He has to go back to base, has no mana for himself, and suddenly the Rift Herald spawns in the middle lane, and that's just going to be an outer turret secured.
Giral and Impact getting into that 1v1. Impact jumping forward almost onto the Mega Gnar, lands another boomerang, continuing to apply the slows, but Audi is here, and now Impact may have found himself in not an ideal situation. Going to be stunned up underneath the turret and outplayed. Impact goes down.
Oh, but here comes the reinforcements.
Contracts comes in, makes sure he cleans up the kill that Impact started, and now they are going to take Adi out as well. 2 for 1, going the way of Cloud9.
They're able to dive, get the advantageous trade. They took the mid lane outer turret before all of this happened, so LYN will do their best to trade. Genthix is just going to play goalkeeper, try and prevent them from getting there. It looks like they'll be able to get it. They might not because the Tristana left early, and they can get out.
A bit more damage. They will be able to find it, secure that turret for themselves, tie that count up 2-2. They're still down 1,500 gold, and that's before Smoothie and Sneaky grab this bottom lane tier 1. LYN responding pretty well to what Cloud9 is doing, but Cloud9 still just continuing to build these leads.
And I don't think the LYN are by any means responding poorly ever as a shockwave's been used.
Shockwave from Jensen,
right,
unleashed
two.
power from Seiya. These guys are really flexing on each other.
Just need to calm down a little bit. No one's dying. Everyone relax. We're trying to play macro League of Legends, and mid laners are just butting heads.
Top side, White Lotus and Genthix trying to get this third tier 1 for themselves, while Sneaky just doesn't really care about this at all, going for the second elemental Drake of the game, along with help from Contracts. Ren plus Smite together, I mean, you don't really have to worry about securing that when they do manage to pick that one up. So that's even more hidden power for this team when you're looking at what they have in terms of gold. Replay of how this fight went down bottom. Yeah, now once again, Frozen Mallet on the Nard. Giral chooses to go out, and so there's always the chance that Impact can go forwards. He's got that Frozen Mallet. He's diving, he's flashed, and then he's done absolutely nothing after the flash. And at that time, Centrality's come in. Really makes you wonder what Impact was planning, but Contracts, he's got his back. Then all of the reinforcements arrive, and it's not just Contracts that's got him. Good turret aggro juggling, the fact that it goes to Smoothie after Contracts and doesn't go to Sneaky. And honestly, Impact was one auto away from being able to take Giral down there, but one auto is sometimes just enough to tilt you into killing yourself underneath the tier 1 turret, which unfortunately for Impact happened, but fortunately for him, the rest of the team is there. 3-2, the game in the favor of Cloud9 by a little bit over 2,000 gold as they push forward, thinking about trying to steal away this red buff. Audi wants to secure it for himself. Sneaky might appears here. Contracts tries to swoop in, but it is going to be secured by Audi. Certainly is as they're going forwards. Okay, the cast goes off. Doesn't really find anything as the Glacial Prison will lock Contracts down, but he gets away with the Lantern. Rather large committal to someone who's got the Lantern to keep him alive. Contracts is a very tanky member on the Rift at the moment also with that Spectre's Cal. Even a cloth armor with his Merc Treads. Not a lot's going to kill him. Or it will take a lot to kill him. Yeah, 2 ults for 1 there as well. You had both the junglers popping the ultis as well as Seiya using the Unleashed Power. So now if C9 can manage to find themselves a fight before those cooldowns come back up, they will have the advantage. Sneaky and Smoothie pushing up the top side here as Cloud9 continues to take the fact that they've got all these outer turrets down, move into the enemy jungle, put down the vision, and set up to continue building these mid-game leads that the analyst desk was talking about. And that's why they're able to close these games so darn quickly. Yeah, this mid lane, mid-game even, is working super well for them as they look towards the middle lane, threatening them, pushing them away, beating them around the rift as Giral wants a fight. Giral saying, all right, we're just going to stand here and man fight this little Yordle, trying to take him down if he can, but Impact is quickly going to be going into Mega Gnar form, stun to stun. Not that fun unless you're the Impact, in which case it is fantastic. Finds himself a solo kill. That's not the fight you want, Giral. He's picking his wrong battles here. Impact just stands and delivers. Right, the Ninja Tabi is just enough at the moment, this early on in the game, to mitigate the damage coming out of that Camille. And with the Frozen Mallet there, Giral, he said, I'm taking the fight. He knew there was no escape, and there absolutely was not. But he also positioned himself next to 2 walls with a Mega Gnar. Not generally the best tactic to approach, but it does end up putting Cloud9 up 4,000 gold as we're about to crest the 20-minute mark. Baron will be live here in 20 seconds. Next Drake will be Infernal number 2. So if Cloud9 can continue this domination over the map, they'll likely have that for themselves here as well. Audi and the rest of LYN getting in position to defend the tier 2 in the top side as Cloud9 backs away. But just look at the vision, Rusty. Top side as well as in the bottom part of the jungle. You can see a ward placed down there by Impact as well to kind of keep sights on Giral. These guys are really just trying to choke the life out of LYN right now. And once again, we just hovered over Seiya's lack of mana. He's going back to base, but at the exact same time, he's pressing recall. Impact's pressing buttons on his blue buff, and so he's not going to get it again. Every single blue buff that he wants to secure, he's being denied. And all of the presence that you get through mid lane just by having that blue buff on Orianna and not having that on Syndra suddenly opens up the entire map. All of the vision they can place in enemy jungle, it's easier to secure. All of the ability power bonus that Seiya could be getting to assassinate people is eradicated. He can't pressure his lane. It's really unfortunate that one small thing starts to add up to such a big deal. And honestly, what really impressed me with LYN when we got to see them in the play-in group stage, especially in their games against WE, the ones that they lost, even in their losing matchups, they kept their carries in a spot where they were able to stay safe. Their positioning was really good. They had these amazing KDAs. I mean, we remember the first game against WE, they didn't die until the very end. In this game, they still haven't died, but the scoreline for both of these big carries, these game changers for LYN Gaming, is 0-0 and 0. They have not contributed anything other than farming. These game changers need to actually start changing the game. It looks like they're about to. That's one way to put it. Smoothie able to find the hook onto Seiya, but now he's found himself in the middle of multiple members as now the counterattack from Cloud9 is live. The cast going to 5. Sneaky grabbing the kill onto Audi, manages to save Smoothie as well. Gentix not going to be the target as Impact finds his way onto Giral yet again. Jensen grabbing the kill on that one, and it's 3-0 Cloud9. And not the impact they needed. In fact, both of them stay at 3-0s on the score, but Cloud9 win the team fight. Impact the rest of them straight over to the Baron pit. That was pretty clean coming out of them in the enemy jungle. They had all of the vision they needed in an area that's usually dark.
And they control Summoner's Rift.
Very well played by Cloud9, moving into the enemy jungle, controlling it with that vision like we were talking about, and the fight win just immediately flows into their pockets afterwards because of the setup, because of the gold lead. This is what they were looking for, and honestly, this is right in line with what we were expecting. Like they talked about in the introduction to this game, Cloud9 is ending their games on average 26.5 minutes, and this is why.
And it all starts with Smoothie well out of position. They can see Oddie clearing a ward, however, so they know where the Sejuani is. They don't see the Syndra. Their reactionary play to that Syndra is incredible. Seiya zones himself because he thinks that Impact might be mega enough, but he comes in completely uncharged as Mini. The teamfight's done from that point onwards either way because the carries aren't able to have an impact. White Lotus and Seiya invisible in the fight. Jensen sneaky hitting the entire time.
And LYN manages to focus the one target that can be made invulnerable and pulled to safety by Sneaky's Ballista, so they can't get anything back in trade. And now Cloud9 find themselves that second Infernal Drake, even more damage now, multiplying that gold lead that they have 7,000 up over LYN Gaming 23 minutes into the game. Impact thinking about maybe tossing a boomerang out here, but not really worth the risk at this point in time.
But I love that he has the option.
Yeah.
The fact that there's a red
the limit.
And Impact's like, oh yeah, I probably could throw a Q out here just because we have Vision, we have Baron, like we're so set up. This is the third red in a row. Not even talking about blue buffs anymore.
All right, he does find himself jumped on by the Sejuani now, but that's a very aggressive jump out by White Lotus. Impact going to be flashing himself away, and here they go, trying to find the pick onto the Cloud9 top laner. The Lantern is down, will pull him to safety, and just barely keep him alive.
He's going to survive. Unfortunately for Cloud9, he is the lack of teleport top laner at the moment, but they're still going to push in. He's close to Mega. I guess they've got a lot of trust in the shields that can keep him up, but they've also got the inside track. They thought that LYN were going to come and react, and they didn't.
They just barrel down the bottom lane. They find the tier 3 turret, but now the fight's going to be breaking out. Impact with the stun down onto Genthix, jumps in, slam into the wall onto White Lotus. The Hextech ultimatum is issued, but immediately canceled as Sneaky finds the Rampage and the double kill. Adi sidesteps his way away from the death sentence, but Cloud9 has issued a similar sentence onto this game. LYN on their back foot, taking their final breaths. Cloud9 approaching the next.
They're going towards the end, it looks like.
Turret number 1 nearly deleted, and it is out of there. Only one turret left standing to protect the LYN Gaming Nexus, and they've only got 3 members to defend it. A nice shockwave coming out from Jensen to allow Sneaky to dominate 6-0-2 on this Ballista. Adi and White Lotus remain, but that is it, and Cloud9, in quick fashion, find their victory in game 1.
Yeah, at the very end of the game, they get some interaction on Summoner's Rift for Seiya, but 0-1-0 was going to be his score.
Not the interaction you wanted.
Still 3-0s for White Lotus. Nobody playing the optimal game from LYN, but it was close. There was these good things that we were seeing from them. We just saw better from Cloud9 at every single avenue.
Cloud9 looks like the same team with the same momentum that we saw in the group stage. And towards those questions we were talking about that you proposed where you said people are wondering, how tough was WE? How tough was Cloud9's group? Were they able to win so quickly because they were up against weaker opponents, or were their opponents strong and they just look that good? And going up against LYN Gaming, who we were saying looks like the best Pool 2 team, Pool 2 seed, whatever you want to call them, Cloud9 finished them off just as cleanly in this first game.
And a lot of this comes down to contracts as play, being able to go to the enemy blue buff, timing enemy jungle camps, the vision that Cloud9 were playing, but most importantly as well, just winning their lanes, having control of their lanes, then relates to getting into that jungle, winning all of Summoner's Rift at that same time. And that's just compliments of perhaps being able to best their players that they're versing against, who are meant to be top-tier challenger players.
Well, to hear more about how Cloud9 took game 1 of the series, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Flowers. The first thing we want to take a look at is the pick and ban phase, because it feels like both teams actually had very, very solid drafts.
Yeah, this is probably the first time so far in Worlds that I've looked at both team compositions and gone like, okay, I feel like both teams walked away with things they really wanted here. Cloud9 have comfort with the Thresh, the Gnar, and the Orianna, and then they have some power picks with the Kalista and the Gragas. And then on LYN's side, they have a winning top lane later on in the game. They have a mid lane that doesn't lose, and then they have scaling with the Tristana, which is comfort for White Lotus.
And the big thing for me is just that whenever you have two competent teams drafting, you're always going to end up with evenish trades. So C9 get more around their bot lane. You end up with more for LYN around the top and mid side, and that is actually probably good for LYN, all things considered. This is where you want to be putting your pressure up on the top side. We're talking about maybe snowballing around Impact and it was just a situation where if Lion's able to execute, this is a great draft for them.
And we talked a lot about Giral being one of those potential guys to step up and carry, and if we take a look at this first blood coming into the game, we can see that Lion actually do a very good job of executing on an early snowball play.
Yeah, I've been loving Audie's routes to try and set up his team. The one where he played against the Ezreal, this one to also have Giral flash on the E, and taking E level 1 on the Camille, this is a very thought through level 1, level 2 here to get that kill.
Very smart, but also required a lot of execution. That was not an easy kill to secure. They're able to grab it. And the thing, it didn't actually end up snowballing the game at all because I think C9's blue buff control was immaculate. They didn't give a single blue buff over to Sia this entire time. And so while you want to keep snowballing around the top side, you just never have a chance to do that because there's so much pressure in your bot jungle, also with C9's bot lane playing very well.
The other thing for me feels like because the kill goes over to Audie, it's significantly worse because if Camille gets that kill, maybe we start to see the snowball. But the second we left that early game, it felt like Camille never even got the chance to go into that 1v1 with any kind of advantage because the teams were moving around the map so much.
Yeah, and there's just so much pressure bottom at that point. Audie has to give up his entire bottom side jungle. The blue buff ends up affecting mid lane. So now you've kind of given away an advantage on the bottom and the mid side of the map that C9 actually, well, they turn it into an advantage for themselves. And now Lion kind of play through top and jungle, but your jungle isn't getting as much experience, right? So it's really just top lane at that point, who didn't even get far enough ahead, like you said, because they didn't get the kill, they got the assist.
Yes, C9 took this kind of really explosive level 1, level 2 gameplay and then just grinded the game out. There was that good single kill in the bot lane out of Sneaky when Contract showed up, and then they take that turret, they take the Infernal Dragon, they flip up to the top side, and I will say Lion had really good macro keeping up with them. Camille read that was coming, went down to the bot side, actually enabled them to get the first turret gold before C9, but it just wasn't enough because they were always at CS deficits and they were giving away blue buffs and things like that.
And these are the small things that I feel like we don't see enough in emerging regions in terms of game plan from what Cloud9 had. Cloud9 are saying the blue buff is literally what's going to control this. The blue buff can go over to anybody but Seiya because he's the wave clear. Even when they just get him low on mana, they force him out. That's when they Rift Herald mid lane, right? They keep doing these things around this one objective timer. It doesn't have to be a turret. It doesn't have to be these rotations. It just has to be this pressure point of the bottom is winning, your jungle is winning, and your mid lane is going even. Just make sure you give Jensen blue because you started it, and then the blue timers are actually staggered so you can always contest the enemy one.
And while it did feel like Lion were keeping up for so much of the early game in terms of macro plays, it felt like C9 always just got a little bit more, that Infernal, that Rift Herald, and we got to the point where Camille, who we thought would be able to win this lane matchup, Impact goes for the early Frozen Mount, and suddenly this isn't even a point on the map where they win anymore, where Gnar is actually comfortable taking the 1v1s.
It did feel potentially like Giral wasn't playing it as aggressively. A lot of these trades started out with Impact getting his first hyper proc and a good chunk of damage back onto the Camille, but it's understandable that he's playing in that situation because you are down this pressure everywhere else on the map. It can feel a little risky to just brute force a play.
And something that was kind of obvious from the draft here was they were trying to put something, make something happen in the top lane, whether it was Lion or Cloud9, both kind of opted into it. There are 6 top lane bans, and then they pick the Gnar, which is a S tier in terms of line pick for Cloud9. And that means that you're looking at your 8th top laner, and he goes for Camille, which of course isn't completely out of his wheelhouse, but it's not one of those neutral tanks. It means you have to play the top lane in some way, shape, or form. If you're picking a carry, you can't just leave it there. And so they end up having to go there, which allows bottom side to be the opening for Cloud9 to take.
And we'll have to see what Giral can do moving forward, because we talked a lot about him being a potential point where Lion can play around, and now it looks like that might not be quite as confident as it was before. And as we moved later into the game, we saw in our second replay that once C9 did get control, most of the game wasn't bloody, but they finally found a way to find those kills.
Yeah, this game ends up being 24 minutes and 42 seconds, because once they get that lead, it just goes insane.
Yeah, I mean, this is what C9 does so well. They pick a fight in the enemy team's jungle. Doesn't start out super well, but Thresh can afford to be a little risky, just given that he has the cliffs to back up. They end up saving Smoothie. The rest of LYN has already committed to this fight. Impact's wreaking havoc out on the backside, and the one target that they were trying to kill was the enemy team support, so no surprise when he lives, that fight goes south very quickly.
Yeah, Smoothie actually had a fantastic game. It's not going to show so much in the stats, but the way he was deflecting ganks and starting things off was...
There was one play, I swear, go back and rewatch this. He hooks White Lotus, and then the Alistar goes for the counter engage, and he flays him out of his headbutt. It's those little plays that, you know, like Irene's saying, don't show up in the stat line, but were the world of difference in why their bot lane was able to keep pressure up the entire time.
And we saw that transition as well into the CS numbers coming in from Sneaky. He had a wild lead at a couple of different points in the game. Felt like he was just a little bit ahead pretty consistently throughout the course of it. But now we look at LYN Gaming. C9, they seem to be in control. They seem to be driving this series forward. What does LYN do to step back into this? What has to change?
Well, I like the fact that they took blue side away here. They tried to carry top approach, and we were saying in the pregame to this that they have two different ways they can look at it, the carry top or carry bottom. Carry top didn't work. Maybe you don't go completely away from that game plan, but you invest more resources down to your bot side, get the favorable lane matchup, because even though Alistar Trist can all in early on, if you're putting a lot of resources top, your bot lane can't play aggressive, and you saw that they had to see level 3 to the Kalista Thresh.
Yeah, and Kalista Thresh is that combination that kind of emerged during Rift Rivals, right? It was even throwing Rakan in there too, but that's getting banned away. So the Kalista Thresh, they can save each other. So post level 6, it's very hard to make something happen there. And we saw Audi go for some ganks to try and turn that one around. They even like lane swapped out of it, but it's still proving a little bit futile there in terms of like what you can actually do against that lane. So I feel like Kalista making it through is a bit of a mistake here, but since they're swapping sides, maybe they're saying Cloud9 have to ban it this time.
And I just want to know what the priority is going to be now coming in and changing sides, if they actually want to take that Kalista, if that's the style they want to play, or if they're going to continue to invest early into the top side of the map to try to shut down Impact.
I assume C9 will stay most of the game plan, throw a lot of those bans up around the top side, and they are totally comfortable taking the Tristana themselves. I'm sure C9 would play either side of this matchup to a degree. Maybe they don't want to completely give up the Kalista because we saw White Lotus get a pentakill on it, so that's still a little risky, but I don't mind the idea of C9 going for a very similar game plan.
All right, we'll see what the adaptation is. Cloud9 struck the first blow. We're going to see if LYN Gaming can fight back in Game 2. The series continues right after this break.
Doesn't have his jump away, remember, Impact flash into the hook shot. They may just be able to find this kill. Audi with the flash, Impact goes down. Contract still staying on the front line. Smoothie gonna be looking for more now as well. Ignite down onto Gentex. There comes your body slam. Impact may have found himself in not an ideal situation. Gonna be stunned up underneath the turret and outplayed. Impact goes down.
Oh, but here goes the reinforcements.
Sneaky grabbing the kill onto Audi, manages to save Smoothie as well. Gentex not going to be the target as Impact finds his way onto Giral yet again. Jensen grabbing the kill on that one. The Hextech ultimatum is issued but immediately canceled as Sneaky finds the Rampage and the double kill.